Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
Welcome to the Fantasy Baseballers podcast, where we cover fantasy baseball waiver wire, FAAB, helping you win your league one move at a time. I'm your host, Lou Landers, joined by my co-host, John Carando. And make sure, of course, to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Dr. Roto Fantasy Sports. Drop a comment with your biggest roster questions of the week. We'll make sure to get to that. Today, breaking down the week 2 top waiver wire pickups, FAAB bids, and the under-the-radar players you need to grab before your league mates catch on. We've got you covered with the actionable ads, smart bids, and watch list players. John, let's get things started with first.
Let's do it.
TJ Rumfield, Rockies. What do you like about this guy, if anything?
Yeah, so I did some digging, and he doesn't seem to have too much power for a first baseman, but he does have great discipline at the plate. He seems to be a good hitter otherwise. So, hitting that core is maybe he plays up a little bit. It's nice for them to have guys hitting the ball at all or in general. So, yeah, I mean, I like that he's 20. He's just 25 years old, so he's got some power. Is one of those things that I feel like is, for younger hitters can come, especially this day and age. So.
I mean, that is true. And it's interesting about him really is he won the starting job in spring. And I mean, through the first 6 games of the year, he's making the Rockies look smart. And quite frankly, John, that's a hard thing to do. The Rockies don't often look very
not the
smart.
easiest.
Yeah, right? So, so far, so good. 9 hits, 21 at-bats, 478 OBP. And he hasn't played in Coors yet. And that kind of takes me to my biggest factor here is anyone that's starting and getting regular at-bats for the Rockies is typically pretty good 81 games of the year. So anything he does on the road, you're happy. But in general, he's playing Coors. He's playing every day. There's something to that. I saw today, being Friday, the day that we do this, he's batting 5th. So like middle of the order bat, Coors Field, starting job. So far, so good. I'm into it.
I think it's well spotted. I think to your point, the fact that he's hitting in the middle of the order, the fact that he's a good hitter with good plate discipline, he showed that in the minors. The fact that, the Rockies just got to keep playing him, which is no guarantee with their track record as an organization. But that's kind of been one of probably my biggest pet peeve with them, obviously, is just, I feel like a lot of times guys will play well, and then for some unknown reason, they'll take him out of the lineup. So as long as he keeps playing, I'm with you. I like him.
Well, we agree on that. We'll see if we continue to agree here today. I feel like sometimes we do, and then sometimes it's just like, no.
Yeah, every now and then. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So
the Red Sox.
let's see what happens here with Kyle Isbell for the Royals. I mean, the sample size is obviously small, like it is with everybody right now.
Sure.
We're 5-6 games in, but he has been really good, John. 500 batting average, 9 hits and 18 at-bats, 2 of which have been home runs. What caught my eye, though, 3 stolen bases already.
Yeah,
he only had 4 last season, and he's only had a career high of 11 back in 2024. So he's almost at his season from the year ago. And this is a guy that it's not like he played 30 games. He played like 130-something games last year. So maybe he's been told, hey, run more, use your speed. And we're seeing that. Because the power's not real. I mean, he has 2 right now. Maybe he hits 12, 13, whatever. But if he becomes a 20 or 25 stolen base guy, that becomes very interesting.
Yeah. Do you happen to know how many bombs he hit last year? Because this is off the top of my head, so forgive me if I'm off, but I feel like it was only like a handful from what I saw. Yeah. It wasn't very much, right? It wasn't very many. And so the fact that he already has 2, like you could read it 2 different ways, right? It's like, yeah, either that's like half of what he's going to get, or it's already halfway, nearly towards what he had last year, or, like the fact that he already has 2 in such a a short amount of time is like could be a good thing, I mean, and he also has, I did jot down, he has he has a higher average exit velocity this year already. Again, short sample, but that's good. These are the things that, are, I feel like, worth paying attention to, because you'll be able to spot trends a little sooner, right? I mean, last year, he had an average exit velo of 88 miles an hour off the bat, and this year it's 91.3. So that's significant. Again, short sample, but, it's something that you like to see when you see it. So the fact that you got the power a little bit, and the speed, any power you get, to your point, Lou, is gravy, right? The speed is what we really, what I would really be focused on. If he's already got 3, like you said, maybe he's got more of a green light. That's definitely he's trending up, like, all across the board. So.
Yeah, and I know he's always been a very solid glove. It's why he continues to get playing time despite not having much power, showing much speed in the past. So the bats should be there. The playing time should be there.
And they drafted him, right? I think he was with them since coming up.
He's been there for a while. I mean, he's not young either. He's 28 or 29.
Yeah, he's like, that's right, somewhere around there.
We see this more and more. Sometimes there's dudes that will break out at 21, and sometimes there's dudes that'll break out at 29 or 30.
Absolutely.
The potential closer, we were talking about it last week for the Cardinals with O'Brien. I didn't realize. I think he's 30 or 31 years old. He's only been in the big leagues for 2 or 3 years. So, there's good point. Good players come in all different shapes, sizes, and ages, right?
Absolutely.
So you wanted to talk about this next guy, and I do have a couple things to say. But Joey Waiver has found his way. I feel like he's just been around. He came up with the Brewers, I believe. But he's kind of been around with the Nationals now, and so far he's off to a pretty ridiculous start.
So Waiver is interesting. He's one of those names that, I feel like I told myself to pay attention to a few years back. I don't remember exactly when. And then it kind of just fell off the radar. And here he is, popping back up again. And he's only 27 years old, right? To your point about, kind of late bloomers and how that's obviously always a possible thing. And so the biggest thing for me is that last year, if I'm trying to remember what it was, but I noted that he had a pretty high K rate last year. And this year, he's not only lowered his K rate, but he has more walks than strikeouts so far. And he's also rocking a 91 average exit velocity. So you add all that up, and that's looking pretty good to me.
It is. And he's played in 5 games, multiple hits in 4 of them. 2 of them were 3-hit games. That's pretty good. And you bring up a good point about the walks to strikeouts. And I will say that he is probably the least likely of the guys we've mentioned so far to continue to be productive, I think. But because of how hot he's been, he's warrants a pickup, especially, everyone plays different types of leagues. If you're playing in the daily type of league with daily lineups, you should be grabbing him now because you want to ride the wave for sure. In a weekly setup, I'd still maybe drop a little bit of FAAB because maybe he has a hot month. There's guys that have really crazy good months, and then the rest of the season they're average to below average. So ride the wave.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a little bit of a limb here, and I could, as Timmy always says, I could eat crow on this one, right? But I think Waiver could actually be legit, like what we're seeing. Like, maybe not to this degree, but I don't know. I just I like the fact that he popped up in the past in my head, and I think it was just like having to do with how he was performing in the minors, maybe, or maybe just like his first cup of coffee in the majors. But like I said, I like kind of what I'm seeing across the board here. I really, really like the plate discipline. You combine that with how hard he's hitting the ball, and good things happen. So as long as he can keep that plate discipline, and again, it's like it's not even just an improvement.
My concern, Carando, is this: he's already doubled his entire walk total from a season ago. So, so I mean, yes, you want to believe, okay, he can keep up the plate discipline, but we've never seen it to this. I mean, he
It's
didn't
a good
play a
point.
lot last year, but it was what, 25 30 games?
Actually, yeah, now that you say that, I'm just fishing out of my memory. There's definitely been some times where we've seen guys who have started off the season really strong with plate discipline, who don't have that track record, and then it just falls off. So I think, yeah, I appreciate you tempering, the expectations there, because maybe, but yeah, I don't know. He's just a guy that I think maybe is worth monitoring at the very least and paying more attention to than maybe you'd think, otherwise.
Well, also, like, for instance, I have some teams that have Churio on them.
Mhm.
I'm looking for an outfielder,
Yeah, exactly.
so maybe I scoop him up and use him for a week or two. And if he's hot, that's great.
Yeah,
And I
see how it
kind of
goes.
bridge
Yeah.
that gap until Churio comes back.
Yeah, and again, like to your point, I don't really think that this is a guy that you're going to have to necessarily spend too much on right now. So, it's
I
like
mean,
kind of like
if
what's to
he if
lose.
he has another 6 hits this weekend, you might have to. If he has
Sure.
1 hit or 2 hits, you won't. Right? It's all recency bias in fantasy baseball because it happens every day. In
Definitely.
the end, I mean, even in the NFL, the other sports, it's still pretty recency bias, but baseball to me is the most because
Yeah.
it really is every single day.
Every day you got your fingers on the pulse. Yep.
Yeah. So before we continue, just a reminder to everybody to make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Dr. Roto Fantasy Sports, turn on notifications so you do not miss a single episode. Of course, you can also write some comments. Comment on this video while you're watching it, and we will answer your questions live. If you happen to write some questions afterwards, we both check it and we can respond to you after the fact. So let us know if you have anything you are wondering about for your roster this week in fantasy baseball. So closers. We always like to talk about closers. We always like to talk about how we can potentially find saves. I think this next guy is mostly if you are a 15-team league team and pretty desperate. It's Mark Leiter Jr. He's with the A's, for those who don't know. He's been around Cubs to the Yankees, now with the A's, but he hasn't had an ERA below 4.5 in either of the past 2 seasons. He has had a very solid K per 9 throughout his career, and it looks like he's going to get some save opportunities because when the A's got their save opportunity, it was Leiter who got that opportunity, and he converted it. But at this point, a spec at the best. And the one thing I'll say is there's no clear-cut closer in Oakland. Well, not in Oakland, in Sacramento, Oakland, Las Vegas, wherever the A's are playing. There's no clear-cut closer for them. And as long as that's the case, Leiter Jr. has a chance to get some of those opportunities, especially being a veteran who does have good strikeout numbers because teams do typically like guys in the 9th inning who can get that swing and miss. So there might not be a clear-cut guy for a while. And as long as there isn't, if you're desperate, grab him now, even if he's on your bench for a while until maybe he does become a more of a favorite. Grab him for, 5, 10 FAAB. You're not going to hurt yourself.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. It's exactly that situation where he's been a late inning option for, years and years now. And he's kind of always just got the potential for saves. And yeah, the past couple of years have been unfortunate at best, I guess, with him. He's a guy who I definitely had rostered in a good number of leagues a few years back, and that carried forward into the past couple of years, and I've been disappointed with him. But if you look at his the underlying stats, he's still missing bats to exactly what you said. He's still a good arm. So, do we know how their defense is? Because I feel like if they have a good defense, that could really make a big difference with a guy like this.
I don't
Yeah,
know
I
how
don't
their
either off the top of my
defense
head.
is. I do know that they have one of the best center fielders in the league with Clark.
Well,
that dude's
that's not
amazing.
going to hurt. Yeah, that's not going to hurt. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I feel like that's something, stuff like that will make I feel like a pretty big difference with a guy like this, because like I said, like if you look at the underlying stats the past couple of years, he's got better stuff than how he's been pitching. So
He does. And I mean, some people will call it narrative, but I as a Yankees fan, I see a lot of guys come to New York and just not be good.
That's
And
right. Yeah, that's definitely true.
maybe he's one of those guys. He had some nice moments in the postseason.
I'd be
times, but
depressed if I had
overall,
to go pitch for the Yankees. So yeah.
yeah, I'm sure you would. Although Cam Schlittler was from around the corner there, and
That's a good point. That's
he
fair.
seems to be doing just fine. So, but that is something to consider. Is just because he wasn't good with the Yankees doesn't mean he can't be good elsewhere. Imagine if everyone wrote off Sonny Gray after his Yankee days.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So it happens for sure. Anything else on Leiter or just the A's bullpen in general?
Yeah, actually, yes. But it's not really consequential. So his velocity is down a little bit. I noticed Leiter's is from last year. So that's just kind of interesting. Hopefully it's not, anything having to do with his, the health of his arm or anything. But he's still missing bats, like pretty much just the same. So I don't really think it's consequential.
Yeah, and he honestly might not get that many more opportunities either. So it's not one of those.
Yeah, it's just a dart throw.
Things. Yeah, it's not like how we felt about Romano or Seawald necessarily, right? It's more of if you need something, go ahead, pick it up, leave it on your bench, and see what happens.
Yep, I like that.
This next guy is really interesting to me. Jose Fernandez. He's listed as a shortstop right now, but he's not playing shortstop, obviously, with Perdomo there. And he's played a bunch of third base in his career. Not going to play there either because Nolan Arenado is one of the best defensive third basemen of all time. So he's not playing either of those positions. What he will likely get is first base eligibility soon, though. That is of interest. So he'd be first base and shortstop, not your usual dual
combo
eligibility.
Sure. But not at all.
It's something.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. And of course, it would still be middle and corner as well for those deeper leagues. So that's good. But he's a high upside prospect in the organization. And he's likely to get a good run of playing time, at least while Pavin Smith is on the injured list. And let's be real, Pavin Smith has been around for a long time. He's never truly established himself. And their other option is Carlos Santana, who can hit lefties, but he's like 90 years old. So why not give this kid a chance if he can hit? And it's only been a few games, but that first game was a pretty special one. I'm pretty sure he hit 2 bombs.
Yeah, he's only 22 years old, and he actually, I checked under the hood, and he came up pretty much straight from AA because he had like no time in AAA this year. So, last year he was at AA, and he hit 17 home runs and 12 steals. And so he's got both pop and speed. And, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I think he's absolutely worth a pickup, for all the reasons you listed. I don't know if he's playing over his head right now, but it's like, why not pick him up and see, right? Because he does have some talent, and he's got, both of the things we look for in fantasy a little bit at least, right? So, and he's playing for a good team. Dual eligibility.
A team that can hit for sure.
Yep.
Unbelievable play there by Cody Bellinger. And I got distracted by it.
Nice.
He's a pretty good player too, but I'm pretty sure he's 100% owned. So you guys can't.
Yeah, I think he might be. Yeah, probably less likely there.
But yeah, but with Fernandez, yeah, I mean, I like taking shots on the young dudes because, and I don't even look that much into it. Like 17 home runs doesn't sound special, right? But a lot of guys find their power when they get to the big leagues.
Yeah. So on that note, I'm just looking down again at my notes, and this is like obviously all, really early in the year and very short sample size. But if you combine his events in the minors, like, very like a couple, whatever, 1 or 2 games in the minors with, after he came up this year, he's averaging 94 miles an hour off the bat. So I think it's around just 10 times he hit the ball. But I mean, that's really good. He's definitely got, he can definitely hit the ball hard.
Very good to know. So from hitter to pitcher, starting pitcher, Randy Vasquez, Padres. Strikeout totals for this guy have not been fantasy baseball friendly, John, but the ERA has been, and he pitches for a pretty good Padres team. I will say, now it was only 1 start, but he punched out 8. I was surprised to see that in his first start against a team that I don't know who it was, actually. I forget who he struck out 8 times, but it looks like he's going to be pitching tomorrow, Saturday, against your Bo Sox. probably about 50
Yeah, that'll be
feet behind you.
interesting.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
And
Hopefully we don't see too many balls leaving the park, you know.
yeah, right. Well, you might have to watch yourself.
Unless you're an owner of them. Yeah.
But I feel like, again, recency bias, because if he has this lights out starting with 7, 8 Ks, 1 earned run, someone's going to drop a lot of FAAB on him. And if he gets
I
blown
did.
up, so you've
To
already
your
done
point.
it. Yeah. So if he gets blown up though, then it's like, all right, is he the guy from the first start or is he the guy from the second start? The one thing I will say is there was vast improvements from 24 to 25 if you look at the numbers, and there's no reason why he can't do that from 25 to 26. He was not highly touted, but the Yankees thought a lot of him when he was in their system. He's part of the Juan Soto trade. That's how he got to the Padres. So there is something to potentially like about him. And, some guys come out and they are just lights out from the get-go. And some guys take a few years to really get things figured out. So the fact that he showed the improvements from one year to the next does make me pretty interested this season, especially so many pitching injuries, man. I have a league where I have right now Rodon, who obviously was already hurt, but Pepio, Musgrove, and somebody else all on the injured list.
Yeah, it's brutal.
I need some arms. So why not Randy Vasquez?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think, pointing out the improvements he made year over year is a really good place to start. His arrow is trending up. He has a significantly higher fastball velocity this year than he did even last year. So I think it was like maybe 93.5 or something, right around 93 last year. And it's up around 95 miles an hour this year. And you can just see that everything's kind of playing up because of that. So it's just continuing the trend that you are pointing out, right, where he's just trending upwards in general as a pitcher. So it's exactly what you want to see. Now, the caveat, rookie or young pitchers, right, are always probably the riskiest. Like, it's certainly one of the most risky things in fantasy because they're just super volatile. They tend to be just, those are the guys that can really kind of hurt you. So there's that. But on the other hand, everything that you're kind of looking for, or at least very much a lot of what you're looking for in a young pitcher, he has, and definitely, in the way he's trending, but also he, hit the bump in the velo, but also he's got a 14%, or he had a 14% swinging strike rate in that first game. So again, like to your point about it being more Ks than he's shown in the past, like, or just more, like he's showing more swing and miss in his game, right? As the bump in velocity is like causing everything to play up a little bit. So I think he's definitely interesting. I put a bid on him for sure. I got him in one of my leagues just to make sure that I have a piece of that, and I can definitely recommend him for those reasons. Yeah. Despite him being a young arm and that just being inherently volatile.
Yeah. And when we say young arm, we don't necessarily mean age-wise. I think he's 27. But he's a young arm in terms of his major league starting pitching experience.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. Exactly. So that's exactly how I think about it in my head, right? Is so like if there's a guy who just like, so some of the guys who came over from the MPB, for instance, right? Like in my head, they're like young in the sense of like their experience wise. Yeah. So that's a good thing to clarify for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, all professional baseball is professional baseball, but it's a little different when it's Major League Baseball. So you can play years somewhere else, but I look at it as years playing in Major League Baseball.
Exactly. That's
not
the context.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
So 2 more guys here, but of course, everybody, want to remind you again, hit that like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Dr. Roto Fantasy Sports, turn on notifications so you do not miss a single episode. Third baseman eligible. He's not really a third baseman, but third baseman eligible. Oswald Peraza, now with the Angels, will have second base eligibility sometime next week already. So that's going to be a nice bonus for you. You have the guy with third base and second base. Of course, that also means middle and corner. He's been playing regular second base for the Angels. He's hit well so far, 286 average, 348 on base percentage. I think he could stick for a while too, though. And there's a couple reasons for that, John. One, the Angels don't really have that many options at second base, or at least the ones they do have aren't necessarily any better than Peraza. But also, people forget because he didn't really pan out or get a full opportunity to do so. When he was with the Yankees, he was a top prospect for them. He's still just 25 years old.
That's
it's not
right.
like he's 28 or 29 years old. He's 25, still very young, and has never really gotten an opportunity to play regularly every single day. And now he's finally getting that opportunity. So let's see what he's got.
Yeah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, like as a Yankees fan yourself, but I seem to remember like I feel like he's definitely flashed a few times in the past, just like, you know,
more with the glove than the bat.
Okay.
I mean, in the minors, he was excellent. He really did become one of their top bats, but he never got to play consistently.
Yeah, I mean that, and we talked about that last week. You know that how much that can be a factor. I definitely, that's one of the reasons why it just drives me nuts when the organizations, like, a lot of times don't give, you know, especially younger players who have the talent, you know, they don't give them a long enough leash to kind of figure things out. You know, because it's just so hard to do that in you know, short periods of time to figure things out. But yeah, so I totally agree with what you said. I don't like the 40%. I don't like the strikeout rate right now, you know, seeing that, but it's early. So, you know, hopefully he starts to, you know, take a couple more pitches. But yeah, I agree with everything you said.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, early on in the season too, I really just want guys who are getting at bats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is
he's playing every day. He is going to have the dual eligibility, as we've mentioned, and he can run. He's got a little bit of surprising pop. I mean, he's not going to do anything. He's not going to be amazing at anything, but I think he can contribute across the board a little bit here and there. And with regular bats, you got to like that. So this next guy, almost anyone who's been playing fantasy baseball for a while now knows who he is. He just kind of fell off the map for a few years based on some injuries. But that's starting pitcher Lance McCullers Jr. with the Astros. Do you know the last time he pitched almost a full season? It was
I wrote it down.
2022. So it's been over 4 years, essentially. And it's really all been injury concerns. And if you look at what he did prior to when those injuries really began to strike, this guy had a sub-4 ERA 6 of his first 7 big league seasons. He also averaged over a strikeout per inning in those 7 seasons. So right now he's healthy. I don't think he's going to remain that way. History would tell us he won't. But he did deliver 7 innings, 1 run with 9 strikeouts in his first start this season. That's about as good as you're going to get from any pitcher, let alone a dude that seems to be hanging on by a thread. So while he's healthy, why don't you want to have Lance McCullers Jr.? Because he's always been good when he's healthy.
That's right. That's how I look at it. Certainly, probably to a fault, but I definitely agree that, you know, so yeah, that year that you mentioned, whenever it was, he had 160, he pitched for 162 innings around there, and he had a 3.16 ERA with 185 Ks. So like, that's a reminder, like, you know, that's the last full year that he had, that's what he did. Right. And he's always had like a swinging strike rate above like 12%, if I remember correctly. You know, he feels like he should be older. I think he's like 30, what is he, like 32 now? He feels like he should be even older.
Early 30s.
I feel like he's just been around forever, because maybe he started pretty early on.
10 or 11 seasons now.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
I think he was a rookie in 16.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So it's been like a full decade with, and you know, the second half of that has been a lot of injuries. So I really hope he can stay healthy for his sake and for our sake, because I totally agree with you. He's absolutely worth targeting. You know, what people are remembering most are the injuries right now, and not how good he was beforehand. So,
and honestly, I'll use what I said earlier in the show when we were talking about stopgap if you have certain injuries, like with Churio. I was mentioning some of the starters that I have with like Musgrove and Pepia, who both went on the IL like a day before the season began. Shockingly, if I can pick up a guy in the colors and he can even give me 3 or 4 really good starts to bridge that gap to when I get my my main guys back, That's what you need, because
Yeah.
essentially it's like having those guys from the get-go, because you
That's
filled in that gap with something good. The same way that if you get 2 or 3 hot weeks from Kyle Isbell or Joey Weimer, it's like you had Churio all along, even though you haven't.
it's a great way to
So
think about it.
you're not spending tons of FAAB, because then it is costing you. But if you're spending 5, 10, 15 this early, it's not going to hurt you.
Totally agree.
So you are in on Lance.
I am.
He's out there. Okay.
Yep.
So what else are you in on? Because I always like to ask about watch lists. I think it's very important. Not everyone necessarily warrants a pickup every single week, especially because everyone is playing in different league sizes, formats, etc. But I always think it's important to literally add people to your watch list. But even if you don't want to add them to your watch list, keep your eyes on them. So what do you have this week?
Well, real quick, just a funny note on that. I'm so scared of my watch lists, especially for my dynasties at this point. I have not cleared them out. Every year I'm like, I got to clear out my watch list, right? So I don't have to go through like pages and pages of guys who are all either owned or don't play anymore. And I haven't done it yet. So I don't know. That's just what comes to mind. So yeah, even just if it's just like writing them down on a notepad separately.
How many guys are on your watch list right now? Like 1,000?
Oh my goodness. It depends on arm 3, it's probably got to be like at least like 4 pages. It's just awful. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're the opposite. I don't even use one.
That's okay. See, if we just combine forces,
that's why I said it how I said it. Whether you actually literally want to use it or just keep your eye on them. I just keep my eyes. You literally use it. I just keep my eyes on it.
Yeah. See, like the path has got to be somewhere in the middle here. Like, don't do what we do, guys. Like, use those watch lists, but yeah, not as much as I do, and don't forget about them. But yeah, I do have some names. So I like, if you're looking for a catcher, Liam Hicks is kind of interesting. He's really hitting the ball quite hard right now. And again, short sample, but they're hitting him. We were talking about this a little bit earlier, and I think you were saying that they're hitting him like middle of the order right now, right? And
as you know, I was watching the Yankees and the Marlins 5 minutes ago when Bellinger made that play. He was hitting in the middle of the lineup today. And what's interesting is, although they have Augustin Ramirez, and that's what everyone thinks about as their catcher, Ramirez is not a good fielder at all. And teams ran all over him last year. So if they have another catcher who is hitting for the moment, that catcher's probably going to play, and they'll just stick Ramirez at DH. And that's kind of what we've been seeing so far. So I don't know if Hicks is going to continue the torrid pace he's been on, but you brought up the exit velo. That's always a good start.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's just hitting like almost everything really hard and well right now. So, why not? If you're looking for a catcher, why not give him a shot?
Almost everybody is looking for a catcher in 15-team league with 2 catchers.
Exactly.
Unless you drafted 2 really good ones early.
Right. Yeah. Good name to jot down.
What else is on your long 4-page list of watch listers?
Gosh, don't make me think about that. So Miguel Vargas is another guy who is worth looking at, right now. He's gonna have a ton of playing time. He's a former top prospect. And I think I mentioned this, I don't know, at some point this year, but I think that he's just in a much better, he's one of those guys that I feel like is just in a much better headspace, right? That team is got more going on for it this year than last year. And I think he's kind of rejuvenating, because I think coming from the Dodgers, it's kind of sad to go away from the best team in baseball, but I think he's kind of, I don't know, that's just my read, right? That I think he's kind of like getting back in the game, and he's a talented player. And so definitely worth, checking him out.
Playing time too, man. We talked about it. At bats,
exactly.
It's valuable.
It really is, especially for anybody. But like with hitters, it's such a sad thing to when you feel like they have talent, and you don't see him get enough playing time. So it's nice, at least here he'll get the playing time that he deserves. Mike Soroka is another interesting name. last year I was kind of keeping an eye on him, and I noticed he was just making some good improvements.
He's not to the same level as McCullers, because McCullers was amazing, but Soroka was a top prospect, and he's really just been hampered by injuries.
That's right. Yeah, so he's got a good arm, and I don't know if he can stay healthy. I think we could see some good things from him this year. So he's another name for sure. And I don't know how to pronounce this last guy. Is it Roop? Landon Roop?
I believe it's Landon Roop.
Okay, Landon Roop. So he's a guy last spring looked really good. And I remember that very specifically. And then he kind of disappointed, as the season, as it carried on. But his name's popping back up again, and he's pitching pretty well so far. So just another name worth watching.
And I went to my trusted source for that. It is Roop.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Landon Roop.
So he's with the Giants now, right?
I believe
Is that
so.
correct?
He was, I think, yeah.
If that's the case, and it is, I just checked.
Okay, perfect.
I feel like anytime someone goes, he's always been with the Giants.
I
feel like anytime somebody goes to the Giants and pitches in San Francisco, they're good.
Mm-hmm.
So you might not love him on
point.
the road, but in San Francisco, you're probably going to like him. I'm a little concerned about the walks per 9 that we've seen out of him in the past, but that was his first 2 years in the bigs. There's always room for improvement in that regard. He actually did improve upon it. If you look at 24 to 25, his K per 9 improved, his walk per 9 improved, but his home runs per 9 shot up like crazy. So if he can kind of keep the ball in the ballpark, which in San Francisco he should be able to, and he can continue that trend with the K per 9 and the walk per 9, you might find yourself a really solid like SP5 or SP6.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a perfect guy for the watch list, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I kind of wish we had him on like his own segment now, because after digging in more right now, like I'm kind of interested with all the like I mentioned, all those pitching injuries. I mean, if you don't have the injuries, you probably and you don't have IL spots. It depends on your league too, right? If you're on NFBC, you don't probably have anyone to drop for him either, so you're
right.
stuck. But if you have injuries and you can move someone to the IL and have a free move, by all means, go for it. Absolutely. Anyone else?
Nope, that about does it, I think, for this week.
All right. Well, everyone, if you found this helpful at all and you didn't hate our jokes, then you should like that button. You should subscribe to the YouTube channel, Dr. Roto Fantasy Sports. Turn on the notifications. Don't miss next week's waiver wire targets and FAAB strategy. You can, of course, drop a comment below with your tough roster decisions. We read them all. We'll try to help you out. But that will do it for this week's episode, breaking down the fantasy baseball waiver wire and FAAB strategy in week 2 of the season. Good luck. Be aggressive on the wire when it counts. I'm Lou Landers. That is John Carando. And we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.